Hey, Mr. Teddy Covers. Good to see you, my friend. Super excited to be talking about NFL. I know we're still about 9.5 weeks away, but we have so much information that we want to give out to our listeners. So I had to give you a call. We're going to talk about last year's Super Bowl losers. Now, there's been kind of some trends that say that we should be fading these teams. We saw it with the Panthers. We saw it with the Falcons. We saw it with the Rams. Some of these teams tend to have some regression the next year. I'm not so sure that's going to be the case for the San Francisco 49ers, so I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about Mr. Shanahan's crew.
Sure. Well, I mean, let's start with San Fran from the top. We'll run the odds down. To win the division, the 49ers are the favorites. They're minus 115 against the rest of the field to win the NFC West. Their line is a 10.5 win team. No juice to the over or under. That's minus 110 both ways on San Fran. To make the playoffs, the 49ers, yes, minus 325. No, plus 265. These are numbers that I got from Caesars earlier today. To win the NFC, San Fran, one of the favorites at plus 350. To win the Super Bowl, San Fran also in single digits at plus 750. So 7.5 to 1 is your payback on the 49ers, should they go all the way. You talk about a team that went to the Super Bowl last year and lost, and you talked about the track record. In general, the Super Bowl losers don't live up to expectations the following season and tend to go under their win total and not to make playoffs and all that sort of thing. It's not unique to San Francisco, but if you're looking at long-term NFL trends, expecting the loser of the previous year's Super Bowl to exceed expectations, that hasn't been a real good bet. Not that it never cashes, but by and large, the old adage of the Super Bowl loser has a tough time getting back there the next year, that hasn't really changed over the course of the last decade. There have been exceptions to that, but by and large, Super Bowl loser, they have their issues the following season.
You know, this is a San Francisco team that looks to be stacked again this year. I have not been critical of Jimmy G. I did bet against him a couple of years ago. I took the season win total under. Granted, he did get hurt, so that was very helpful. Not wishing injury upon him, just saying that was very helpful for me to cash a ticket. That being said, overall, he showed some moments of greatness last year on the field, and he showed some moments of WTF, particularly when I was holding a San Fran ticket. This is a guy that's got to progress this year. Am I right? I mean, if he's not progressing as a quarterback and a leader on the field, San Fran's got to look a different direction. So he may have a chip on his shoulder here. We know he's got a few weapons. One of my favorite tight ends in the league, George Kittle. We know that now they're going to be kind of matched up against a couple of other powerhouses in their division. You mentioned their division odds. I'm just kind of curious to see what you think the San Francisco 49ers are going to look like for the 2020 NFL season.
Well, let's talk about Jimmy G right from the top. All right. Here's a quarterback who's done everything asked of him. Okay. He's running Kyle Shanahan's offense is no joke. That's a 2-year offense to learn. He got the team to the Super Bowl last year. Didn't have a great Super Bowl. Had moments of struggles throughout the postseason and sometimes against the better defenses that he faced. But I don't think this is make or break year for Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's already made it. Okay. And Jimmy Garoppolo, and that if he has a down year, San Fran's going to go with him again in 2021. And when we look at the 49ers stats from a year ago, because again, we always want to start, where was this team when we last saw them? 6.0 yards per play on offense, 4.7 yards per play allowed on defense. That plus 1.3 yards per play margin, Kelly, the best in the NFL last year. So there was no joke. There was nothing fraudulent about San Fran's run to the postseason. They rushed for 4.8 yards a carry, allowed 4.4 on D. So better than average rushing game, average, slightly below average rush defense. Garoppolo, QB rating of 102. Rock solid. I'll take that for anybody. The defense allowed opposing QBs only 83, a QB rating of 83. That's number 7 in the NFL. So that pass defense was real good a year ago, and it wasn't always a situation of takeaways. I mean, they finished plus 4 in turnovers, 27 takeaways. That was good, but the 23 giveaways was middle of the pack, and some of that certainly has to do with Jimmy G. Now, you talk about the personnel for San Fran. This is a team that ended last year with 17 guys on injured reserve.
Wow.
So
that's excessive.
Yeah, they played through a ton of injuries a year ago, and the fact that the vast majority of those players will be back and healthy for this year gives San Fran an enormous boost before free agency, before the draft. And then you look at some of the players that they signed and re-signed, re-signed Eric Armstead and Jimmy Ward. It wasn't like this team was going to make a lot of big moves in free agency. They didn't have a lot of moves to make, nor do they have a lot of salary cap. The big trade, DeForest Buckner, when they give away one of their defensive starters. That said, going to Indianapolis. That said, he is replaceable, and Javon Kinlaw, their number one pick, could well fit right in. Brandon Ayuk, number two, their second first round pick, a speedster on the outside. This team has offensive weapons. They have a loaded defense. They have an above average quarterback. And of course, the coaching staff remains basically the same. Kyle Shanahan returns. Salah returns to the defensive coordinator. McDaniel and LaFleur as run game and pass game coordinator. They do have a new QB coach in Shane Day this year, which may help Garoppolo in some regards. But from all indications, Kelly, this team looks on paper every bit as good as they did last year, if not better. Now they have the experience of having made the postseason run all the way to the big game. And certainly when we look at San Fran on paper right now, they don't look any weaker than they did last year. They look like a legit contender.
Awesome stuff, Teddy. Thank you. I'm glad we agree about San Fran because, like I said, a little hesitant to back the Super Bowl losers, but the more I dive into this team, the more and more I think they might have a chance to have another Super Bowl run.